ever been in a situation where you just knew you were missing something in a conversation because of a language barrier? Like there's a whole layer of understanding just out of reach.
Oh, absolutely. That feeling of wanting to connect beyond just the literal words, it's something we can all relate to, I think.
Totally.
And that's really why we're doing this deep dive today. We're looking into a pretty fascinating development that aims to make those kinds of linguistic divides maybe a thing of the past.
Exactly. We're talking about Google's newly unveiled real-time speech translation feature right inside Google Meet.
Yeah, the big announcement from Google I/O 2025.
Right. And we're basing our discussion today, our sort of roadmap, on a really insightful piece from TechCrunch covering it.
Yeah, and our goal really is to dig into what this tech actually is. How does it work? What could you use it for?
And why should you, listening right now, potentially care about this? Why might it be significant?
It feels like a glimpse into, well, a potentially much more connected future of communication. It's exciting stuff.
Okay, so the big headline, real-time speech translation in Google Meet. It sounds almost like science fiction, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
What exactly did Google announce? What's the core idea here?
So basically, the announcement is about embedding instantaneous speech translation directly into your Google Meet calls.
Right.
So imagine someone speaking, let's say, in English, and another person on the call hears it, maybe in Spanish, with almost no delay.
Yeah.
Virtually instant.
And crucially, this isn't just about getting a text transcript that gets translated after the fact, right?
No, not at all.
The TechCrunch article really emphasized that it relies on a large language audio model from Google DeepMind. What makes that so different?
That's the key part, the audio aspect.
Yeah.
Traditional translation often just focuses on the words, the text.
Right.
This new system is aiming for something much more ambitious. It's trying to create a truly natural flow of spoken conversation across languages.
Right.
So that DeepMind audio model, it's designed to understand and translate not just the words, but also how they're spoken, the nuances.
Okay. So walk me through how that works. Someone speaks in, say, Spanish, and I hear it in English. How does that leak happen in real time?
Well, the process captures the spoken words, then translates them almost instantly into the listener's chosen language.
Okay.
But here's the really innovative bit. The focus on preserving the original speaker's vocal characteristics.
You mean it'll still sound like them? Even though they're speaking a translated language, I understand. The article mentioned maintaining voice, tone, and expression. That sounds incredibly complex.
It is. It's a significant technical challenge, for sure. But the goal is that the nuances of the original speaker's voice, your unique sound, their pitch, inflections, even the emotion, that gets carried through into the translated audio. So it's not just some generic robotic voice reading the translated words.
Wow, okay. That is a game changer. Because then you'd still recognize who's speaking, get a feel for their personality, even across that language gap.
Exactly.
And there was this other interesting detail. Something about faintly hearing the original voice underneath the translation.
Yes. That's a really fascinating aspect, I think. The idea seems to be that listeners will subtly hear the original speaker's voice kind of in the background, with the translated speech layered clearly on top. Maybe it gives you a bit more context or helps you recognize the speaker's rhythm, perhaps.
Interesting. Now, latency. The article kept bringing up low latency. Why is that so critical? Why does that matter so much for making this feel like a real conversation?
Well, just think about having a conversation, any conversation, where there's a noticeable delay.
Yeah, it's awkward.
It gets stilted and unnatural really fast, right? You talk over each other, the flow is gone. So low latency, meaning a tiny, tiny delay, is absolutely essential for a smooth back and forth exchange.
Makes sense.
And Google's claiming their system achieves latency latency so low that they believe, truly natural multilingual conversations can finally happen. Something they say hasn't really been possible before now.
That really highlights the potential, doesn't it? It's not just about translating words. It's aiming for, seamless human interaction.
Precisely.
The article gave a couple of really good examples of where this could be used. Can you remind us of those?
Sure. One really compelling one was the example of English-speaking grandkids connecting with their Spanish-speaking grandparents. Imagine the difference that makes. The richness of communication, strengthening those family bonds when language isn't this huge barrier to just, sharing stories and experiences.
That's such a powerful image. Really brings home the personal side of it. And what was the other main area they mentioned?
The other big application they pointed to was in global companies, businesses.
Right, colleagues in different countries.
Yeah. Exactly. For teams collaborating across different regions, different languages, this could enable real-time chats, brainstorming, project updates, even just like casual team building, all without that friction of language differences, slowing things down or causing misunderstandings.
So yeah, implications way beyond just personal chats. It could genuinely reshape how global teams collaborate. Okay, so when can people actually start using this? What's the rollout plan?
Well, it's starting pretty soon, actually. The article said a beta launch begins this Tuesday.
This week? Wow.
Yeah, but initially for users who are consumer AI subscribers. And the starting languages are English and Spanish.
Okay, just those two to kick things off, but I imagine that's just the start.
Oh, absolutely. That seems to be just the initial phase. The plan is to expand the language support pretty quickly.
Which other ones did they mention?
The article mentioned Italian, German, and Portuguese are slated to be added in the weeks following that initial launch. So yeah, the language list should grow fast.
Okay, good. And what about businesses? Companies using Google Workspace, is that on the roadmap too?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Google's clearly got an eye on the business use cases.
Yeah.
They're planning early testing with Workspace customers later this year.
Right.
So it looks like a phased approach. Start with individual AI subscribers, gather feedback, expand languages, and then roll it out more broadly for enterprise users.
Okay. Stepping back a bit, thinking bigger picture here, this feels like it could be more than just a handy feature for Google Meet. What's the sort of broader significance of this kind of tech starting to emerge?
I think the wider implications are pretty substantial, actually. This kind of real-time, nuanced speech translation, it really has the potential to foster much greater global understanding.
How so?
Well, think about accessibility for people who speak different languages, breaking down barriers that have historically just stopped communication or made it really difficult.
Yeah.
Consider international education, research collaborations, even diplomacy. The possibilities are huge when you remove that fundamental language barrier smoothly.
It really does feel like a step towards a more genuinely interconnected world.
It does.
Okay, so just to quickly recap for everyone, we've been diving into Google's big announcement, real-time speech translation coming to Google Meet.
Right, powered by that impressive large language audio model from Google DeepMind.
We talked about how it's aiming to preserve not just words, but the speaker's actual voice, tone, expression.
And the crucial role of that low latency to make conversations feel natural, not stilted.
We looked at some great potential uses, like families connecting across language divides and global teams collaborating more easily.
And we covered the rollout plan, starting with a beta for consumer AI subscribers in English and Spanish, with more languages like Italian, German, Portuguese coming soon, and future plans for Workspace business users.
So here's something to think about for you listening. With technology like this becoming real, how might it change things in your own life? Personally, professionally? Who could you connect with or communicate with differently if language wasn't such a hurdle anymore?
It's a really interesting question, and this development, it just highlights how quickly the whole landscape of communication is changing. AI is increasingly showing it can bridge these gaps, create more seamless, more inclusive ways for us all to interact. It's a really exciting space to watch, and this Google Meet feature feels like a significant step.